Hello guys, what's going on? This is Pambo again, back again with another tutorial video. So this is going to be an exciting one. So ever since the release of OpenAI's ChatGPT, developers have always wanted to build new things. And I came across a very interesting way of implementing their API. So what we are going to do today is build an AI-powered VsCode extension that will help you to write code or analyze your code directly in your VsCode application. So what this will be is it is going to be similar to GitHub Co-pilot, just that it's going to be yours. Now I'm going to take you from the beginning to the very end, where you learn how to build it from scratch. We'll build and deploy it and put it on the marketplace, where people can also access that plugin. So if that sounds interesting, please don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe, and I will catch you after this short demo. Alright guys, so here in the VS Code, I've already deployed the VS Code extension. So to find it, all you have to do is go to the extensions marketplace and then search for the name AI Code Buddy over here, and it should be this one over here. So I'm going to teach you from scratch how you will be able to build it and how you can put it on the VS Code marketplace. But maybe at the time you'll be watching this video, I would have taken it down because I don't want people to use my credits. It's very limited. When you create an account, you have about $5 or $10 thereabout. So it's very limited, and I've already used quite a chunk of it, so I'm not going to put this out there, but I'll show you from start to finish how you can also build yours. And as it stands, we have about 5 stars and it has 10 downloads. So let's get into how we use this application. So let's open up any file. Okay, so I've already created these 3. Let's open up test.js. Let's delete this. And to use it, all you have to do is press Ctrl Shift and P to open up the command palette and then search for get AI powered bot response. So over here, you just have to type in the command or the code you wish to generate, and then it will do the rest of the work for you. So here, let's say we want to write a simple calculator application in JavaScript. Like this, hit enter, and then we wait for the magic to happen. So it will reach out to the server and then send a post request to OpenAI, and then it will get the results back. So we start to see something, some code generated. So this is how we are going to do it. It works for all languages, guys, and this is very, very cool and very interesting. Now I'll show you how you can set it up, how you can get your API key, and how you can integrate it into you can create a VS Code plugin out of this. So if that sounds interesting, I will catch you after this intro. See you. Alright, welcome back guys. So this is the marketplace, and you can see I've deployed CodeBuddy over here, and I've already released 2 versions of it. It was just a minor change, so that's why you have 0.0.2, and it was 2 days ago and it's publicly available. But like I said, as at the time you'll be watching this, it will probably be down. I'll just go ahead and unpublish it so that people don't use my credits too much. So the first thing we want to do is we want to head over to openai.com over here. Now if you don't have an account, please go ahead and sign up. But if you already have an account, go to the login section and then just log into your account. So I'm going to head over into the login, just pass in my credentials, and then it logs me in. Now what we want to do is, if this is your first time, you want to choose any of these things, right? So ChatGPT, DALL-E, etc. So here, the place you want to go is you want to go and find your API key. It's very important. So head over to the logo over here, that's your account over here, sorry, and then view API keys. Click on that, and then this will show your API keys and also show you the number of credits that you have remaining. So you can see I've created some API keys. Go ahead and create one. Now for the billing or the usage over here you find how much credits you have left. So for this account I have 0.00 trial remaining, but yours should be like 5 or $10 thereabout. It used to be 18, but now it's 5 or 10, and for the purposes of this video it should be more than enough. But after that you can always upgrade it by setting up a paid account, right? Good. So let's head back to creating our API key. So to create a new secret key, just click on create, and then you can choose to give it a name or not. So I'll just leave it blank and click on create. Now mind you, this is the only time you are going to get this secret key, so make sure you copy it because you won't be able to see it again. But if you forgot to copy it, you can always create a new one, right? But this is the only time you will see it, so if you lose it, it's gone. So with that said, let's head over to VS Code and start working. Okay guys, so we are now in the VS Code application. So go ahead and create a folder. You can call it any name at all you want. I've called my AI companion. So over here we are going to create two separate folders, one for the server side in order to communicate with OpenAI, and then one for the extension. So the server side, let's create that one first. So click on the folder here, new folder, and let's call this server, right? So over here in the server, now what we need to do is we need to navigate into that directory. So under AI companion, cd into server like this, and then let's run npm init because we are going to be installing some packages. So I'm going to say npm init, and I'm going to pass the -y flag so that I don't have to answer any of all those questions. Now with that, we have we've initialized npm in this folder. Now if I open it up, you see we have a package.json file here. That's good, that's great. So the next thing we need to do is we have to install some packages. So first we need to run npm install, and let's install OpenAI, very important. OpenAI, we install Express, we will also install course, and then we install nodemon, and then .env like this, .env. These are the only packages that we'll be using across. So we just wait for the installation to complete and to download all the packages, and then we'll begin from there. So from here, what I want to do is in this folder over here, I want to create a separate file, and I'm going to call it .env. That's where we are going to be placing the API key. So make sure that you are in the server folder here, and then let's create a file called .env, right? So over here, let's create a file, let's call it .env like this, and over here we need to pass in, let's create a variable for the API key. So we say make a caps open AI underscore API underscore key like this equal, and then the API key we copied, just paste it in over here like that. Great, so we are good. Now the next thing we need to do is to make some small adjustments to the package.json over here. Great, so what are the things we are going to change? First thing we want to remove is this main. We don't want that. We are going to set the type to module. So just hit type, and then let's set it to module like this. Bring a comma. Good. And also in this script, we are not going to be running the test. We don't have test here. So inside the server, let's create a new file, and let's call it you can call it any name at all you want. So I'm going to call it server.js like this. So server.js. So back in the package.json, we are going to the script here is what is going to be run right now. We want to use nodemon so that it will auto refresh whenever we make any type of changes. So let's call it nodemon run server like this. Good. Nodemon server. Now here the script name is going to be server, just like that. Save it, and everything should work fine. The only mistake here is the env file. We need to move it into the server folder. It's outside of it, so make sure you move it into the server folder, and that's good. So we have that done. we can get started on working on the server.js code. So the first thing I want to do is I want to import OpenAI, right? Because that's the star of the show, OpenAI, and I'm importing it from OpenAI. And then we can get set on importing the other packages. So let's import Express. So import Express from Express, and then import course. So let's import course as well. Import course from course. Import course from course, and then let's import the .env, right? So we are going to use the wildcard, import all as .env from .env, just like that. Great. So with this, I believe we should be set. So let's initialize .env, the config over here, .env.config. And the next thing we need to do is to create an instance of OpenAI. So if you've migrated to version 4, this is how you do it, but the code base may have changed a little. So over here, OpenAI, let's make it small. OpenAI is equal to new instance of OpenAI. Great. And the only thing it requires is for us to pass in the API key. So we pass in the API key, and this we are getting it from process.env then the name of the API key over here. So go to the env, copy this, make sure it's the same spelling, and then paste it here. And that's that. So this should be good. Now let's focus on creating the instance of Express, right? So let's say const app is equal to Express. Const app is equal to Express. Now let's get ready to use course and then Express JSON. So course like this, and then app.use express.json. Great. So now the next thing we have to do is set up our route. So let me add in comments so that it's easier. So instantiating OpenAI. Here it will be setting up Express, and then here will be setting up the routes. Good. So under the routes, we are going to set just two. That's the get and the post. So that's how we are able to make requests. So get will get the request, post will send the request. So we are going to say app.get. That's the first route. And we are going to use the / over here. Now you need to pass in the callback function, and that's the request response. So we say rec res, and then it's an arrow function. So here, if we got the status code of 200, status code of 200, then it means everything was working fine. So res the status 200, then it means everything was working fine. So if it's working fine, we want to send back a message. Res the send, and the message we are sending back is it can be anything at all. So hello, this works fine, something like that. Hello, this works fine. And if that is done, we can go ahead and test this out to be sure that everything is working fine. We've not linked it to OpenAI yet, but we just want to test this to make sure that everything is running fine. So make sure you are in the server folder, and then just run npm run, and then the name of the script. So it's server, and it's going to run nodemon. So here npm run server, just like that. And then great, it works. Now we did not set where it should display, but this says that it's working. Now we'll do that in a bit. So let's just do that right now so that we we can see how this works. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up the listen. So app.listen, and then which port do we want this to listen on? So port 3000, and then let's make the callback function. So we're just going to say console.log, and we just pass in some information. So we are just saying server is running on port 3000, server is running on port, and then the name, so http://localhost, and it's 3000, like this. Great. So if everything works fine, this should work. So let me just review the code real quick, and we're importing express. Okay, so made a mistake here. It's supposed to be a function, and then let's run this. So over here we are going to run the script, the server script over here. So make sure you do that. So npm run, and then the name is server. So let's run that, and it says server is running on port 3000. That is great. So let's double check to make sure that this is running. Click on it, and it says hello, this works fine. Great, we are making progress. So we've not set it up to work with OpenAI just yet, but we are going to do that in a bit. So we finished with the get route. Let's work on the post route. So let's call this the get route, and let's call this the post route. Okay, and this will be listen. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up the post route. So it's going to be app dot, and this time instead of get we are saying post, and let's use the /route 2, and then here we are going to pass in the request and response as usual, request, and it's an arrow function like this. And this time, because we are going to be awaiting some response, or it might take a little while to run, we need to make this an asynchronous function, just like that. Now afterwards we need to wrap the entire thing in a try catch, so that in case there are errors we can be able to catch those errors. So catch, and then we are passing in error, and then what we do in the error is we are just going to send back the error message that we got, and then we console log it. So let's console log the error. So console.log, and then we pass in the error like that. We pass in the error like that, and we say res.status 500. So that's the status code, and then we just send in the message. So we are just passing in the error message that we got. Great. So we've finished with the try catch. We finished with the catch. Now let's work on the try. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to get the user's input. So we are passing it as prompt, and this we are getting it from the request. So say request.body dot prompt, like this. That's where we are getting it from. And then now we need to instantiate or create an instance of OpenAI. So we say const response, like this, is equal to await, because we need to await for information from OpenAI. So we are going to await OpenAI dot completions dot create, like this. And then afterwards we need to pass in the variables or the things that we want. So the first thing we want to do is pass in the model. Which model are we trying to work with? Now the one we are going to work with is the text DaVinci 003. So we have to pass in the model here, and then we say it's text DaVinci 003, this one, right? Add a comma, and then let's pass in the prompt. So the prompt, we are going to be getting it from here. We are not going to be passing it manually, we are just going to get it from here. And so for that, let's use the backticks and then use the template strings, pass it in like this. So we are getting in the prompt, and let's pass in the temperature. Let's set the temperature 0. These are just go along with these, okay? And then the max tokens, let's set it to 3000, and then top, I guess top 1, and then the frequency penalty, let's set it to 0.5, and then the presence penalty, let's set it to 0. Great. So you ask, how do I know this? I saw it on their page. It's on the documentation, so you can go and read more on that if you want to find out what these things do. So the next thing we have to do is send in the response, whether this was successful or not. So we say res.status 200, and if it's the status code is 200, then that means everything was well. So we are going to send back a message, and this one we are going to say let's go here, so AI bot, or let's just call it bot, not bot, and it's going to be response dot choices, right? Response dot choices, and we are taking the first one, that's index 0 dot txt, just like that. And believe it or not, we are done. This should be done, right? So here, let's test this out. Okay, so everything should work fine. Now let me shut the server down a little and then start over again. So over here, we want to test if this post route is correct. So I want to hard code the prompt for now. Later we will pass it in dynamically, but let me hard code it in for now. So I'll say write a function in JS to add two numbers. This is just to test. Later on we'll switch it to use dynamic messages, right? So let's run the server again. npm run server. Great. So this time we are going to open this up in Postman. So just copy the link and then paste it over here. So paste it in, and then let's change the request method to post and then send it to C. And then we got something. It says function add two numbers, return num1 plus num2. So this is good. We are able to successfully make a request to OpenAI. This is progress, and we are going to be building up from here. So for example, if you want to test this in, let's say, Python, so write it in Python like this, save it, head back to Postman, make the request again. You see, this time it says def add two numbers, so on and so forth. It's not properly formatted now. We'll fix that in a bit, but at least we are getting a response back. Okay guys, so now we are all set to start creating the plugin. So what we want to do is we want to inside the same folder, that's the AI companion folder, what we want to do is we want to generate or create the plugin inside the same folder. Now then, the things you need in order to create the plugin is Yeoman and VsCode extension generator. So over here, make sure you close the server. Let's stop the server from running first. And then over here, let's cd outside server. So cd ... Great. So over here, what we need to do is we need to install Yo and generator code. Those are the two things we need to install. We need to install them globally. So just run the command npm install -g yo and then generator code like this, and hit on enter. So this will take a little bit of time to install Yeoman on your system. Great. So we are all set. We are all set. Now the next thing we need to do is to run the command yo code in order to start in order to start creating the application. Now since we are going to be creating it in the AI companion folder, just run the command yo code like this, and then follow the instructions that come after. So it's asking us for some questions, right? So it says, what type of extension do you want to create? Now select new extension type, TypeScript. Select that one. And then what's the name of the extension? So we are going to call it, you can call it any name at all you want, right? So I'm just going to use the name of the channel, Code with Cheriga-AI, something like this. And then what's your identity? I'm going to go with the same thing. What's the description? So I'm going to say it's an AI coding companion, something like this. Initialize Git on this. Yes. So, oh no, we'll do that later. Enable Webpack, yes. And then which package manager? Let's use npm. And then let's wait for all this to finish up, and then we'll continue with the tutorial. So right now you see it has created the folder Code with Cheriga AI. So this is the name of the plugin. Now if you used whatever name, I will encourage you to use your own name or something more descriptive to create it. So whatever name that you use is the one that's going to create over here. So from here we are just going to do a couple of things, and then we'll install Axios in order to communicate with the server. That's what we are going to do after, right? So let's just wait for this to finish. Go grab yourself a cup of coffee. It might take a little while. Great. So after that, it's asking whether we want to open this in a new Visual Studio Code folder. Let's just go ahead and skip it since we are already here. So skip it, but let's cd into that folder. Cd into Code with Cheriga. Good. So over here, I just want to open up this. Let's close these ones. Close up these, and then let's head into this folder. So over here, the only package we are going to install for this is Axios. Now Axios, the only reason why we are using Axios is because we are going to be making a post request. We are going to be sending the request from the plugin to the server side code we just wrote, so which will in turn send it to OpenAI. So that's the only reason why we are installing Axios. So let's go ahead and run npm install and then Axios. So let me run you through the folder structure where we are going to be working in. So the only place we are going to be working more in the src folder. Over here we are going to create a file here, and then we'll work in the what do you call it, the package.json folder as well, right? Great. So these are the two places that we will be working on. Let me collapse this so that everything is more concise. So over here in the src folder, we want to go ahead and create our own file, a TypeScript file, that is. So you can call it whatever name you want, but I'm going to call it AI. No, wrong folder. Over here, let me minimize this. So over here, let's call it inside the src folder, sorry. So make sure you're in the src folder, and then create a new file, call it AI integration like this .ts. Great. So inside AI integration.ts, what do we want to do? Basically, we want to write the function that will make the call to the server side code that we just wrote. So over here, let's make the import. So let's import Axios. So import Axios from Axios, and then let's get on to writing the function. So function get AI, let me make it a capital, get AI powered bot. That's just the name I'm going with. You can choose whatever name you want. And then let's make this an asynchronous process because it will probably take a little while, and we want to be awaiting the results from the post request. So get AI powered bot. AI powered response. That is not AI powered bot. AI powered response. And the parameters are going to be the prompt. We are going to use the prompt, and it's going to be a type string. And then we add a promise. So promise is also going to be promise. It's also going to be a string like this. And then let's open up the code. So over here, we need to get the URL, right? Where is the server located? So we need to get the URL first. So let's create a variable for that. We say const API URL is equal to, now right now the server we are running, let me open another one, and then let's cd into server so that you see something. Cd into server, and then let me run npm run server. We need to get this, right? This link, right? When we finally host it, we'll be using a different link for that. But for now, this is the link we are going to be using. That's the localhost 3000. So just copy that and then paste it in here, right? But later we'll change this when we finally deploy it. Great. So try. So now after that, we have to write our try and catch statement. Now for this to run, the server side code needs to be running. That's why I created a new instance of the terminal. But you should be here in case we want to do any other stuff over there. Great. So we are currently getting an error because we've not returned anything at the end. So let's go ahead and write out the logic. So what we want to do in the try catch, so I'm going to write this in a try catch statement so that in case we do get an error, we know how to handle that error. So when we do, or if we do get an error, I just want to return a string that, hey, something went wrong. So we say something went wrong like this. And then inside the try statement, we want to return the results that we'll get. So first, let's make the call to the Axios, right? We need to make a post call to the API, sorry. So we say const response is equal to axios.post, and then we pass in the API URL and then the prompt like this. Great. Now after that, we want to return the results we got back. So we say response data bot trim like this. Now it might take a little while, so we need to make this an await. We need to await this so that we do not get any type of errors. So you see, we have the error gone. Now also here in the catch statement, let's console log something in case we want to know the type of, we just don't want to get something went wrong. We want to console log the error so that we have a little bit of a fair idea of what is going on. So let's say console.error, and we are passing in something. We just say error fetching response like this, and then let's pass in the type of error we got. So it's just going to be error like that. Great. So the last thing we are going to do is we are going to export this function. So just say export, and it's going to be get AI powered response. Great. So with this, we are done with the first part of our integration. So next thing we have to do is go over into the extension.ts and then just configure some few things out there as well. So save this file and let's check this out here. Okay, so the over here in the extension.ts folder, the main export function that we'll need is the activate. So the activate kind of like works like the main. So the main function, it works like the main function. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to delete everything we have here, and then we are going to write it from scratch. So just delete everything and then let's make all the code. Let's write all the code from scratch. So let's import all as VsCode like this from VsCode. Great. And then we also want to import the function we just created, the AI powered bot. So import what was the name? Let me make sure. Get AI powered response. Great. So import get AI powered response from AI integration. Nice. Good. So over here, I want to first we want to handle the user input. That's very, very important. We want to be able to handle the user input. So I'm going to create a small comment here. So handle user input. We need to be able to get it and then pass it to what do you call it? The function, right? So over here is also going to be an asynchronous process. So async function handle user input. So say handle user input. Just a simple function like this. Now over here, the things we need to do. We need to show up a window, right? We need to open up we need to show an input box in VS Code so that when the prompt is entered, we can grab the prompt over there. So first thing we have to do is create a variable. So create a variable. You can call it whatever name. Let's go with prompt. And then what we want to do is we want to show the input box. This is a function that already comes with VS Code, right? So but it's going to be we are going to await it. So we say await VS Code dot window dot show input box, like this. Great. So what are we trying to do? So inside the input box, we want to just tell the user to enter in a prompt, right? So open this up and say prompt. And what are we saying? So we just want to tell the user that please enter in your prompt. Please enter in your prompt like this. And then next thing we want to do is to check if the prompt is empty or not. So whether the user canceled the prompt or not. So if it did, then we just return nothing, right? So say if the prompt is undefined like this, then we are basically returning nothing. So return nothing, just return. So let me make a small comment. So if user cancels the input, right? Great. And then we also want to write a we also want to get the active text editor. We want to make sure that we are having that. So get active text editor, right? Get active text editor. So inside here, we are going to create a function, a small variable called editor. And then it's going to call the function active text editor from VS Code. So we say VS Code dot window dot active text editor, like that. Great. So over here we also want to write a small function to see if it's not null or something like that, right? So if not editor. Then we also just want to return nothing, just like that. Great. So from here, we want to display, what we usually want to do is, after the user has entered in their prompt, right, we want to display a little message telling them that, okay, we are fetching your response, so that they know that, okay, their response has been sent, and then it's awaiting a message back from the server, right? So we'll let's just create a small comment. Let's call it display loading message. Display loading message, like this. So inside here, we are going to be displaying it inside the text editor, right? So we say editor dot edit. Now we have to we are going to pass in this edit builder. We're going to pass in edit builder, and it's an arrow function. Now inside edit builder, we just want to insert the text that, hey, we are fetching response. So say edit builder dot insert. Now we want to we're going to say editor dot selection dot active, and then we pass in the statements that we want to pass. So we are just going to say fetching response, something like this. Fetching response, and then add 3 dots maybe, right? Great. And then after that, we need to fetch the response, because if we are going to be sending the response, we need to send it to the function, the get AI powered response function, right? So here we say const bot response. Let me give it a comment so we know where we are. So we say fetch bot response, like this. So const bot response, we are also going to be awaiting that response. So await get AI powered response, like this. And then what are we fetching? We are fetching in the, we are fetching the prompt, right? We are passing in the prompt. Great. So the next thing we have to do is simply just display the response in the window, right? That's the next thing to do. But I want us to create a little typing effect, just like how we have it in ChatGPT, where it will write the text in like in a sequential manner, where it's like we don't just want to pop the result onto the screen. We want to give it like that little typing effect. So I'm going to create a function over here at the top and then implement that typing effect. So let's call this typing effect. It's going to be it's not going to be that difficult. We are using a for loop. Now it's also going to be an async function. So async function like this. And let's call this type text in editor. You can call it whatever name you want, right? So let's call the parameters over here is going to take the editor, and that's the VsCode dot text editor, this one. And then it's also going to take in the text. So text, and it's also going to be of a type string, just like that. Great. So inside here, we are writing a for loop to take the entire length of the text, and then after that, we are going to display it, right? We are going to insert it one after the other. So we say for let I equal 0, I is less than the text dot length, and then let's just increment it I plus plus. Great. So inside here, we want to await we are going to create a small function that's going to set the timeout to adjust the display or the delay of text as needed. So let me just create a comment, adjust the delay of text, right? Great. So over here we are awaiting a new promise, right? Await a new promise, passing the resolve, and it's going to be set time out. So the set timeout function is just going to, over here you can choose you can set how you want the text to display, or the delay of the text to display. So let's set it to 50. I think 50 is fine. It's not all that fast, and it's not very slow. So I'll wait that, and then just call editor dot edit, and then pass in edit builder like this. And then over here we are going to insert the text. So edit builder dot insert, and it's going to be editor dot selection dot active, and then we pass in the current text. So text with the value of I. And that's it. We are done with the function. So anytime we call in this function, we are basically going to achieve that text typing effect, right? Good. So let's continue with the code. Great. So let's remove the loading message. After here, let's remove the loading message. That's because after we get the response back, we want to remove the loading message, this one, and then display the actual text that we have. So say remove loading message, and then let's pass in the variable. So say const loading message. We are going to grab the message first. Message.length is equal to this. So just copy this, copy it, pass it in, and no, not dot length, sorry, message length, right? Const loading message length, and then dot length, just like that. Great. So over here we want to write in the editor dot edit. We want to remove it, so that's what we are going to do. So editor, and then we are passing in the edit builder as well. So edit builder like this, and then we say edit builder dot delete, because this time we are removing the text. So edit builder dot delete, and it's going to be new VsCode dot range like this. So we say editor dot selection dot active, selection dot active dot translate, just like that. And then we start at 0 minus loading message length, like that. And then bring a comma, and then editor dot selection dot active, editor dot selection dot active, like this. Great. So with this, we are this will remove the loading message, and the next thing we have to do is let me double check to make sure everything is running as it should. And yeah, this looks fine. So the next thing we need to do is to actually simulate that typing effect. So after we get the response, the bot response back, right, we are now going to display it in the message, but I want to first pass it to the typing effect, this typing effect first, and then display it in the we are passing it into the typing effect, and then display it into the editor, right? So I'm just going to say simulate typing effect for the bot response, like response like this. So we are awaiting what? We are going to await the type in editor function we created, and over here we pass in the editor, and then we pass in the bot response. So say bot response like this. Great. So afterwards, we just want to display a little window or a little nav, what do you call it, bottom sheet or something, I don't know, something small over here to just signal that, hey, we've finished with whatever we are typing, and then you have your response. So let's just say display completion message. It doesn't, you can choose to add this or not, but I want to add that so that we know that we are done with the, what do you call it, we've successfully displayed the results, whether something went wrong or we actually got a response back. So it's a function, and inside here I'm just going to say response received and typed like this. Great. So this looks good. The next and final thing to do, remember the active function I told you about at the beginning. Now we have to create that, right? So without it, all this will not work. So we have to create that first. We have to create that, and that's the last thing we are doing for the code. So export function activate, right? And then inside here we are taking in the context, the context, and it's the VsCode dot extension like this. So we need to return something in order to for this to work, or we need to set some few things. So first let's set let disposable equal VsCode dot commands. We need to register in the command, so register command, and that command is going to be called, you can call it whatever name you want, but let's use this extension dot get AI. So you can set it to get something, so get AI powered bot response, right? So to make sure we are all on the same page, please do it this way, and then pass in an async function like this. And then what are we doing? We are awaiting the handle user input. That's the function we created, this function. You see, we've not called it yet. We are calling it inside this function. So we say await, and what are we awaiting? We are awaiting handle user input, just like that. Great. And with this, let's finish up on this. So it's what do you call it, context dot subscription subscriptions dot push, and then we are pushing in the disposable, just like that. Great. Oh, sorry, it's not extension, it's extension context like this. Sorry, my bad. So we save this, and with this we are done with the entire code, right? Then the next thing we have to do is to just modify a few parts of the file, like the readme and then the package.json, to make sure that everything is working fine. So great job, guys. We've not tested this out yet, but we are almost done with it. So just stick with me, okay? Right. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to change the contents of the readme file. So the readme file over here, right now, if we look at it, it's a generic message, just boilerplate code or markdown, right? So we have to change this. Now to help you out, I've already created a small file, a small markdown. You just have to change the name. So I'm going to copy and paste that over here, and then once you download the code, you can simply just change it as well. So over here I have this, so I'm going to copy this and then I'll paste it in here instead, right? Great. So this is how we are going to use it. So the next thing, this is very important. You have to specify the GitHub repository for where you have this running. You have to specify the GitHub repository for where you have this running. So we are going to do that in a bit, but first let's change in some of the few things in the package.json and the tsconfig file. So let's do that right now. So save this file, and then let's head over to the tsconfig file. All right, so let's head over to your tsconfig.json. Now over here we want to add the out directory. That's where we want the VsIX file to be, right? So we have to add that as well. So under target, just under target, you can place this here. Just add out dir and then just call it out like this. Save it, and then in the package.json, we are going to make some small modifications over there as well. So in the package.json, you see we have the name, code with AI, display name, description, so on and so forth. So what we want to do is we need the repository, right? We need to specify the GitHub repository. So let's push this code to GitHub. Let's push the entire code to GitHub, and then we can link it over here as well, right? So let's do that instead. Let's do that right now. Great. So to help us with everything that we are doing, I want to initialize Git on the main folder, not on this one. So let's stop the server from running for now. We'll come back to that. So Control C, stop the server from running. Now let's head over here and then cd into AI companion. So cd into cd dot. Great. Let's initialize Git here first. So initialize Git. So we say Git init, and then we have done that. So over here we need to create the git ignore file. So dot git ignore. Now what do we want to ignore? We want to ignore the .env, and we also want to ignore the node modules folder, node modules as well. Save it, and now let's add this to the staging area. So we say git add everything, and then git commit -m. Let's call this initial commit like this. Great. So now that we have this, let's head over to GitHub and create a repository, a remote repository over there, and then push all these code to that side, right? So let's do that. So open up GitHub here, and by the time you'll be watching this, the code should be up and running. You can go ahead and use it, right? You can go ahead and use it. So I'm going to create a new repository. So I'm going to call this AI companion. You can ignore the description, but make sure this is set to public, and then click on create repository. Great. So now that we are done, we need to do some few things. We need to set the origin, and then set the branch, and then push it. So you can copy this code to set the origin. So copy it, head back to VS Code, paste it in, head back, set the branch, get branch main, paste it as well, and then the final one to push the code to GitHub. So git push main. Yes, do this. And great, we have everything pushed to GitHub. So this is fine. This is great. All right, so let's head over to GitHub to see whether our code is there or not. So refresh this. And good, this is great. We have the plugin and we have the server and we have this. So this is good. Everything is working. Everything is supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. So that's great. That's great. Great. So now that we have this, let's head back to the code, right? So back in the package.json for here, back in the package.json, not the lock, package.json, we need to make some small changes like the command over here. If we run this command right now, it won't work because we don't have hello world. We changed that. So we have to change this. And so the extension, right? The extension, the command, this command, we need to change it. So we head over to the extension file and realize we called it extension.get powered AI powered bot response. So copy this and then place it in the package.json. Replace this command with that one instead. Good. And then here we need to give it a name. So what's the title for this command? You can call it whatever name you want. So I'm just going to go with the get AI powered response. AI powered response, like this. So this is what will pop up when you hit the command palette, and then you can enter in your command as well. So we also need to set the activation event, right? So head over to activation events over here and then add on command this. And what's the command? So the command is going to be the same thing, get extension.get AI powered response, like that. Okay, so just save this, and in the main, where is it? This, in the main distribution extension.js, we are going to set this out to out/extension.js, right? Out/extension.js. Save it, and with that, I think we are done. The next thing would probably be to change the logo and whatnot, right? But before we move on, we forgot of the description of the repository, sorry. So let's go ahead and fix that. So under version number over here, under version number, let's create a repository. Just call this repository. Now under repository, we need to specify what type it is. So it's going to be Git. The type is Git. And then we need to add in the GitHub URL, right? So URL like this, and then pasting the link to that section over here. Okay, so now let's head over to the GitHub repository we just created and copy the link over there. So head over to GitHub, open up AI companion, and here we need to copy the link to this, right? So click on code, copy this link and paste it here. Just paste it, save it. Now let's comment the code again. So git add and then git commit -m modified readme and package.json files. You can make the commit any name at all you want, and then let's push it again. So git push. Right, so this is fine. So now the next thing we have to do is run the VsCE. So we first need to install VsCE and then we run it as well. So over here, what we need to do is we need to run the command npm install -g VsCE. Now, if you already have this installed, you don't have to go about it, but this is necessary for generating the VSIX file, right? So we need to run this. Okay, so we are getting a little warning over here, and it's basically telling us that the activation event can be removed, as VS Code will generate these automatically. So let's go ahead and remove this. Just remove it and make sure it's an empty array like that. Save it, and let's run the command, the compile command, right? So we say npm run compile, hit enter, and we are in the wrong directory, so it will not mind us. So cd into code with Sheriga, and then run the command again. So we give it a little bit of time, and that works. So we get the dist file created. So the next thing we need to do is to run the VSC package to generate the output file that we want. So say npx VSC package like this, and then hit enter. Okay, so we got an error. It's saying that make sure these files exist and aren't ignored by the extension. So let's go ahead and fix this error. Okay, so now let's head over to the VsCode ignore. That's a possible place for where we might find this error, or maybe we are ignoring something we are not supposed to. So let's see. Looks fine. Let me check webpack config. So in the webpack config, and here, okay, we didn't set the output, so let's set it to out, since that's where we are working in. So set it to out, and then let's run this command webpack webpack mode production dash dev2 hidden source map, like this. And we have a problem. For some reason it's saying we don't have webpack installed, so I'm just going to go ahead and install webpack globally. So let's install webpack in npm install -g webpack CLI, like this. I was sure I had webpack installed, but let me just reinstall it again. Great. So let me check the version, webpack -- version. Okay, so this is good. Let me clear the screen. Now let's rerun the command again to bundle this for us. Good, so this works, and we have the out directory. This is what we wanted. and that is good. So the last thing we have to do now is to run the VSC package in order to get the VSIX file. So run VSCE and then package like this, and then hit enter. So yes, it's asking us, it says it doesn't find any license. Just type Y, and then you have it. Great job, everyone. So we've created the .vsix file, and it has our the plugin has been created, so that's good. So make sure you have this running because we are still hosting it locally. We've not pushed it online. So this is what we are going to install. So to help us, we are going to open up a new window, a new VS Code window. So let me open up this folder. So I have this. Okay, so I have this window open now, and now I'll go to the extensions tab and then head over to the more actions and then click on install from VSIX. So I'm going to install this one, click on it, and then click on install. So it says completed installing the extension, and let's test it out. So this is it over here. It doesn't have any logo yet, but at least we have some information kind of. So let's open up any file. Let's go with this in the JS file, then Control-Shift-P, and then it says get AI powered response. So here we can enter in the prompt. We need to enter in the prompt now. So I'm just going to say write a function, no, a calculator program in JavaScript. Now you might wonder why I use JavaScript a lot. It's because it's the language I most like. Now we got an error, and the reason why we get the error is because remember in the previous time when we were working on the server, we hard coded the value. We are not getting it dynamically. So when we go back to the server, you realize that we hard coded it that you should return it in Python. So that's why we are getting this error. So let's just quickly go back there and fix it. All right, so let's head over to the server side that's over here, and then head over into server.js. Now this is where we are getting, that's why we are getting that problem, right? So we hard coded it, that's why it didn't work. So let's just change this to prompt. So just change it to prompt like this, save it, and let me see. Good. NodeMon has restarted the server. Everything should work fine. So let's head over to the window again and test it out one more time. So I'm going to delete this code and then pop open the application again, the plugin. And so let's write it. Write calculator program in JS. So we wait for the response back, and then we proceed. Yay, great job. It's working, guys. I hope you are all getting this. And if you have any questions, I know it's been kind of long, but if you have any questions regarding any of these things, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer everyone. So this works fine and it's really cool, but we still have some few things to do, and that is we have to deploy this. That's the next step of the application. So this works fine, it's cool, but the next step is to deploy it. So I'll just let this finish running, and then we head over to how we can deploy it. If you have any questions regarding this, please don't forget to ask in the comment section below. Great, so everything is done. it has successfully worked, I believe, and this looks fine. So it generated two prompts, and then it took the operator. So the operator can either be plus, minus, multiplication, or division, and then it works with this. So this is fine. This is great. We've made great progress, guys. Next thing we have to do is to deploy this so that everyone can use it, right? So how do we do it? Let's jump into that. So let me save this file. Great. So first thing we need to do is we need to commit everything back to GitHub, and then go ahead and then just integrate some of the things we have to. So stop the server from running, and then let's cd out of this, right? Let's cd out of this. So here, and right, so over here I want to add everything. So git add, and then git commit, everything works. Everything works fine. Great. And then what we need to do is to push it. So git push. Good. So this is fine. So where are we going to be hosting this? Now you remember in the code with Shariga AI over here in the source under here we are using localhost 3000. Now this is not ideal if we are going to be using it online, because our server can't be on all the time, so we need a place to push it. So the ideal place I've found, or one of the popular places to host your applications I found, is Render. So that's where we are going to go now. Okay, so we see that over here in the GitHub we've committed everything, and now let's head over to Render. So Render is where we are going to be deploying the server-side code, right? So if you don't have an account, I encourage you to go create an account. It's one of the best platforms I know. They are not sponsoring me. No one is sponsoring me yet, but it's one of the best platforms I know of. So go over there, create an account, and then let's get this running. So what we need to do is we need to create a new web service, right? So click on new, head to web service, and then if you created it with your GitHub, right, you can easily just link it. But if not, you can come down here and then provide the URL to that public GitHub, that public Git repository, right? But since I connected mine, I'm going to go ahead and connect this, right? So just click connect, and then I'll specify some few things. So for example, the name, so a unique name for the web service, I'm going to call it AI Companion. The region, I'm not particularly sure which one is closest to Ghana, so I just leave it at default. And then the root directory, so it's going to be server, and then the runtime is node. So what's the command to start this? So it's npm run server, right? Great. So after that, you can choose the instance type you want to go with, whether free or paid, but for the purposes of this video, free should do. So it's $0 a month, and it's 512 megabytes of RAM. That's great. So go ahead and click on create, and then after that we'll go and configure the environment variables. Okay, so right now we are waiting for it to deploy, and once it's done, we will take the link it offers us over here, and then we'll place that in the plugin. Okay, so we have a little bit of an issue here. Okay guys, so to fix this small issue that's over here, we need to head over to the environment variables, and we need to set the node version. So by default, if you set the default version is around node version 14, and that will give you that error. So we need to set the node version a little bit higher in order to bypass that. So set node version like this, and then we can set it to the version of node we have. So let's place that in, save changes, and let's see. whether it gets deployed or not. So let's wait for this to be sure, and then after that we update the environment, the .env as well, right? So let's wait for this. It's still in progress. So if you're having that issue, I believe just changing the node version should fix that, right? So let's just wait for this. And great. So yes, it works. And we are getting this error because we've not passed in the environment variable, the API key, right? So when I was committing the code to GitHub, I intentionally removed I added it as part of the environment variable so that I can keep it private. So that's the next step for what we are doing now. So let's head over to the environment variables, and then let's add an environment variable, and let's call it OpenAI API key. That's the name we gave it here, OpenAI API key. Correct? Copy that. And then let's paste it in here. So next thing is to paste in the key as well. So I've done that and I've saved the changes. So now let's check in the logs to see whether this deploy has completed or not. So let's just give it a minute. So it has restarted and it's using the node version we specified, 18.7.0. So let me head back to events, and it says a new deploy has started. So let's just wait for it. Okay, great. So guys, this is working. It says our server is running on port 3000 and your server is live. So this is good news. This is good. So what we have to do is we have to copy this link. Now, if I open this up, you see that it will open up a new page for us, and it says, hello, this works fine, just like we did when we're still in development mode. So this is fine. So we need to copy this link, and let's head over to VS Code again. So over here, what we are going to do is we are going to change this what do you call it, this link, so that we are no longer using localhost 3000, and then we paste it in like this. So this is good, this is fine. Save it. You have to make sure that the server is not running. So when we open it up, you see we don't have any instance of it running. So let's clear the screen. And then what we have to do right now is, since we've made a bunch of changes to this, I want us to rebuild the plugin and then use it again. We might get some errors. So what we want to do is we want to delete this out folder, and then we also want to delete this extension, or yes, let's just delete it for the time being. So delete the out folder. Yes, move it to the recycle bin, and then delete this extension as well. So click on it and just delete it. So one other thing we want to do is, in the instance where we have it installed, that is here, we want to disable and then uninstall it. Just uninstall it, reload, and then it is gone. So we are going to install it again and then try it out this time. So head back to the plugin folder. So cd into the plugin folder, that's code with Sheriga. Let's run the npm run compile, and then after that we run the VSC, right? So we have the out folder again. Great. So let's run so VSC package, let's run this. And then yes, Great. So we've created it one more time. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and install it in this instance of the window. So same thing, go to the extensions tab, the three dots, install from VsIX, and then just install it like that, right? So it's just so we don't have any errors. That's why I recommended we delete everything and then do it again, right? Great. So now that we have this, let's test it out. Okay, so let's open up a new file. Let me go with the python.py. Let's delete all the code here, and then let's just start with something very simple. So Control Shift P, and let's reload the window to make sure we don't have any errors. So reload the window and then Control Shift P, and then click on Get AI Powered Response. Now here, let's start with something very basic. So say write Python program to add two numbers like this. Good. And it says fetching response. So good. So it starts, and then we have this code outputted for us. So this is great. This works fine. This is awesome. So we've succeeded in deploying it, and this time it's not on our local machine. We've put it on a server on render, right? We've put it on render, and now it is working fine. This is good. This is good. So the next step we want to do is we want to just make some few modifications. That's push it, change the icon, and then, because right now if we look at it, it's where is it? Here, right? So what we want to do next is we want to be able to modify this. Right now we don't have any icon and it's looking a little bit ugly, and we don't even have a publisher. So if people look for this, it's not really, we've not hosted it on as well. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to put this on the VsCode marketplace for others to use as well. Okay, so before we get into even changing the logo, let's make sure that we have an account on the marketplace, and then we can push our plugin over there. So head over to this place, marketplace.visualstudio.com, and then create an account, right? You come to publish extensions, right? Click on publish extensions, and then we need to give it a name. So I already have CodeBuddy on. So first, let's click on create a publisher, right? So just click on publisher, and we have to provide the name of the publisher as well as some other stuff, right? So I'm going to say code with Sheriga, because that's the name of the plugin, right? So code with Sheriga. And if you have a domain, you can add that about it, right? So I love to create plugins for users, something like that. And then let's add in a logo. So the logo, I have one. That's our logo, the official logo. Click on that, save it. And then company website, we don't have one now. We do have a LinkedIn, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. So just hit on create, and let's give this some time. So we have the captcha. Great. So we have code with Sheriga over here. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and upload the extension, right? We can go ahead and upload it. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to going back to the code into the package.json file over here. So inside the package.json file, two things we want to do. We want to first upload the logo, want to make changes to that, and then afterwards we add the publisher as well. Okay, so now in the package.json, just create a publisher here, say publisher, and the publisher is going to be the name we just created, and that's code with Sheriga. So just copy it, and you can use your name. I encourage you to use your own name, and I encourage you to use your own name, place it over there, and then we need to specify the icon as well. So icon. Now I already have the image prepared, so I'm just going to drag it into this place. So this is the logo. I'm going to drag it into VS Code and I'm going to drop it in here. Just drop it in there, and it's called the Sheriga logo.jpg, right? So over here in the package.json, let's call the name. So over here in the icon, just type in Sheriga logo, depending on your logo name, right? So Sheriga logo.jpg. Save it, and let's rebuild the application. Let's rebuild it one more time. So let's clear the screen, and let's rebuild it one more time. So to just make sure I don't get any errors, I'm going to delete it one more time. Just delete the out and the plugin as well. So delete these two, and let's run it one more time. So run compile, and then let's run the VSC package. Yes, and that is done. So we've recreated it one more time. To make sure we don't get any errors, go ahead and install this old one and then reload the page. So right now we are going to reinstall it one more time, and then to see whether it's updated the logo or not. So go to the three dots, install from VSIX, select this one, select it one more time, and then click install. Refresh it, and then we find it here, right? So indeed it's updated the logo, and then we have code with Sheriga AI, and it's an AI companion, right? So you can modify these, make them much more better than it already is, right? So we have this works fine. Now the last thing we have to do is to just drag and drop the VSIX file into the the marketplace, and then that is it. We've published this. So let's head back to let's close this up. So we are done with the application. All that's left is to just push this to the market, right? So over here, click on new extension, and then Visual Studio Code. Select this Visual Studio Code, and then we have to drag and drop the file, or you can click to select where the file is. So let's click, and I saved it on my desktop, and we called it AI Companion, if you remember. So AI Companion, and it's here, and VSIX. Click on open, push it, and then upload. And just like that, once it goes through, this will become publicly available, and then people can use it. So how cool is that, guys? I am very excited. It was a long tutorial, but I hope it was beneficial to you. So I'll still encourage you guys to check it out, try and build things with it. And if you find any type of error while going through this, please don't forget to leave it in the comment section. Just draw my attention, and I always respond to all the comments, right? So I respond to all my comments, and I'll help you address the problem that you have. So let's just wait for it to finish verifying, and then we will check it out in an instance of VS Code to see whether it's actually publicly available or not, right? So it's still verifying, and then afterwards we can check it. Great, guys. So it's verified and it's now publicly available. That's awesome. That's very good. So congrats if you made it this far through the video. And to better demonstrate this, I'm going to open up vscode.dev online so that we check to see whether the extension is really on or not. So over here we are going to search for the extension code with Sheriga-AI. So here, search over there, code with Sheriga AI, and we have it over here, guys. So that's cool, but it's not available in Visual Studio Code for the web, and that's true. So here we have it, and it's available for all of us to check out, right? But by the time you get to use this, or you've watched this tutorial, I would have taken down the API key. This will still be on the marketplace, but I would have taken up down the API key, because like I said, I've used up a chunk of the API calls, and I have very little left, and I still want to make a couple more tutorials, so I'll be taking it down. But yours should work, and I encourage you to play around with it, try your hands on it, and I'll catch you in the next video. So until then, stay safe, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.